Meine Damen und Herren, Ladies and Gentlemen, herzlich willkommen, a very warm welcome to the Haus der Industrie. Mein Name ist Josef Lentsch, ich bin Direktor des NEOS Lab. Wir sind ein offenes Labor für neue Politik und die Parteiakademie von NEOS. Und wir freuen uns sehr, dass das heute hier Abend zustande gekommen ist. Wir freuen uns sehr, dass Sie alle heute hier sind. There are, I think, people from 8 or 9 nations in the room, which is fantastic. So, first of all, let me say a few thanks. Herzlichen Dank zuallererst an John Hunter. Thank you very much, John Hunter, for being with us tonight. Welcome. My second thanks goes to Globad, the think tank for future leaders that has made this possible, partnering with us. I want to thank President Dr. Wilfried Stadler. I want to thank Heidi Dobner. Here she is. And I want to thank Pippa Belcredi. She is not in the room. So thank you very much for making this happen and making this possible. And of course, I want to thank the Industriellenvereinigung for generously hosting us here tonight in this beautiful space, kleinen Festsaal. Vielen Dank auch dafür. Das NEOS Lab ist, wie gesagt, ein offenes Labor für neue Politik und diese beiden Worte, offen und Labor, passen, wie ich finde, sehr gut zum World Peace Game. Das offene und auch das Labor, das Experimentelle, das Praktische ist, denke ich, sind alle Aspekte, die man im World Peace Game wiederfindet. Und es sind auch Aspekte, die sich im Verständnis von Bildung, wie es bei NEOS gelebt wird, wiederfinden. Und ich darf zuallererst, Matthias, dich bitten, ein paar kurze Worte zur Erläuterung, warum NEOS diesen Ansatz vertritt.
Dankeschön, lieber Josef, für die Einbegleitung. Ich freue mich, dass Sie alle da sind. It's great to have you here. John, people are coming to listen to you, to learn from you. I think your work has been a great inspiration to all of us. And it's a unique chance to dig deeper today into your approach. Ich war von Beginn an begeistert von dieser Arbeit, die das World Peace Game macht, die John Hunter, sein Team hier machen, weil es tatsächlich dem entspricht, wie wir Bildung sehen, ein ganzheitlicher Bildungsbegriff. It's a comprising approach towards learning that we would like to promote. And comprising approach, that means, well, of course it has an intellectual side. Of course, it has to integrate an emotional, I would say, an emotional world. It has to integrate the aspect of relationship building. So relationship-based learning is one aspect we would like to promote in Austria. And of course, you can preach to people and to pupils and to children. I'm father to 3 daughters, and I know that preaching is not working out well because they copy you anyway, whatever you preach. And to involve people, to give them responsibility, but also freedom, leeway to act. That is how we see the future of mankind, to create fixed spaces for freedom. And that is what you do with the World Peace Game. You create a fixed space for freedom. And they have to take on responsibility, the young people. And it's an experience-based learning. It's a comprising approach towards learning. And I think all the pupils, all the schools, all the teachers, and I know a lot of people are in this most important profession of our republic. We're talking about teachers. I'd say it's maybe a mindset you could cultivate. It's a toolkit you could take away. It's a comprising approach towards learning, and the more you be ambassadors of this approach, the greater, I would say, is the turnout of events like this. We have to foster inspiring people, inspiring approaches, and this is one step towards this objective. Thank you very much to have you here, and I'm looking forward to having an inspiring evening all together. Thank you.
Dankeschön, Matthias. Zum weiteren Ablauf. Ich darf gleich Dr. Wilfried Stadler, den Präsidenten von Global, zu mir auf die Bühne bitten. Er wird John Hunter vorstellen. He will introduce John Hunter. Then John Hunter will take the stage and introduce the World Peace Game, which will be followed by a short movie. And afterwards, you will go into the depth of the World Peace Game and the possible future for teaching. This finally will be followed by a Q&A session that I will moderate between you and Veronika Leutzendorf of Globad. So, without further ado.
Thank you, Mr. Lensch. Guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, dear John Hunter community gathering here at the Industriellenvereinigung. There was already said the most important things about this evening. I want to add an additional thanks to Maria Kluge, which is generously supporting our project. Thank you so much, Ms. Kluge. Heidi Dobner succeeded to find the right man for the right project. When she saw in the year 2011 the TED video with John Hunter, she had the idea to invite him to our Globard Academy of the next year of 2012. And she had the idea to award a very special honor to John Hunter, namely the Globard Award of 2012. And this was the first time when I had occasion to meet John Hunter, and I was deeply impressed. And I'm so glad that you succeeded with your team, and I want also to mention Veronika Leutzendorf, who will be on the panel on this evening, to spread this important idea, which is more important than ever in those turbulent times. John Hunter is a native Virginian and graduate of Virginia Commonwealth University. He is an award-winning gifted teacher, as we know, an educational consultant who has dedicated his whole life to helping children realize their full potential. And with his background, which I didn't know, as a musician and composer and filmmaker, during his 3 decades as a teacher, he started to develop a unique teaching program. Part of this teaching program is the World Peace Game, which we'll hear more about from John Hunter himself. That's what I wanted to say as an introduction. I wish all of us an inspiring evening, and our thanks go to you, John. The floor is yours.
Guten Abend. That's all the German I know, I'm sorry. I cannot tell you how full my heart is to be with you tonight. I could not even be here were it not for the Globard organization the board, the NEOS party support we met last year and that has grown. Heidi Marie Dobner. Where did she go? Oh, yeah, there I'm sorry. She is my patron saint. Yeah, so I pay allegiance to her. And my good friend Maria Kluge, who lived with us in Virginia for some time and has supported us for some time. Without all of you, I am not possible. I may have had a long career in teaching. It was wonderful. I just do what teachers do. It's a noble calling. One of the most beautiful things is to be a teacher. But in my career, I was just doing this world peace game and many other things. And a beautiful young filmmaker, Chris Farina, is he here? Yeah, Chris Farina, who lives in our town. He came into my classroom, he said, John, I heard about this world peace game. I want to make a movie. I said, movie? Wow, like Hollywood? Like a film industry? He says, I'm an independent filmmaker. Well, that's even better. It sounds like avant-garde. What does that mean, independent filmmaker? He said, it means I have no money. So probably we're going to show the film in my living room to our friends. I had no idea how good he was because his film, it didn't just capture a teacher, didn't just capture the children. It captured the whole idea of teaching. And I was fortunate to be a part of it. So much so that I've said before, I see the film he made and I see myself disappear. I see my teachers. You have had teachers like that. One person who made all the difference in your world. I've had so many good teachers. The only way it was possible was so many good teachers. And I was getting ready to put the game away and Chris appeared. Let's make a movie. His movie won many awards. It went around the world. And we just went along to see what happened. But everywhere I go, I spoke on behalf of teachers. Not myself, not my game, but teachers. I happened to have his camera in our classroom. But really, we're just trying to say teachers everywhere, great teachers are trying to do this. Here in Austria, in Immersdorf, just a little ways away, Heidi Marie and Globard have arranged for me to come to bring this huge structure. We're going to show it to you, this huge structure. They built it. And last year we had 12 teachers, I think, from Austria attend this training on how to do this exercise. This year we have 30 teachers from 8 countries in Immersdorf. Thanks to these people in Globart, this board, and Heidi's vision, and Veronica, who is really making everything physically possible the entire time, I can't tell you what it makes me feel like. So I won't take too much time talking about myself in that way, but I want to talk about this game. The World Peace Game, we like to say, is not just about the game. It's about a way of empowering children to be in control of their own destiny. When I went to school, the teacher was there, you were there. The teacher said, this is what you will do. This is how you will learn. If you do it, fine. If you don't, big trouble. In this day and age, that doesn't work. The children have the sum total of human knowledge on their phones in their pockets. They can access it. What information or knowledge can I share with them they can't find like that? They don't need that from me. They got that. So what we hope to do is share with them a way of how to think, how to solve problems. The big problem for teachers, and teachers you know in the room, we have a terrible problem. We are charged with preparing children for a world 20, 30, 40 years from now that we might not be able to imagine. I'm preparing them for something and I don't know what it looks like. yet I have the duty of preparing them. How do I do that? If I give them knowledge, information, access to the internet, very nice, but they can do that without me. So what am I giving them? Why am I in this room? I'm there hopefully to help them know how to, we call it solve for X. How to be prepared for the unknown, which I, the teacher, will not live to see. We've given them a world full of problems. The world has always had problems, but now you know it is so critical. If we do not help this generation, it may be too late. How can I help them save the earth? How can I help them save the world? What can I do? I can't even imagine the future. When I was in school, there was no internet. We barely had television. I think we had refrigerators. But the thing is, I have to do it somehow. So the World Peace Game and other thinking like that, other great teachers in the world doing things like that, is to prepare them to develop conceptual tools and to know how to create their own conceptual tools so they can handle any problem. When they lead the World Peace Game, I'm so proud because my students say, Mr. Hunter, I think I can solve any problem. Any problem? Yeah, any problem. Give me a problem. I'm so pleased that they feel this way. The confidence is there. So what I'd like to do is describe a film, and we have a gifted filmmaker here in Austria too. Mario is in the room, I believe, tonight. We'll take a, is he here? Yes. Yeah. Very good. Brilliant young filmmaker. There he is. Thank you. All right. I look at his film and I think I did get to Hollywood after all. But he came to Immersdorf last year when Heidi Marie arranged for this beautiful conference with we call it the Master Class for the World Peace Game. And he made a video production that is so high quality, so beautiful. We wanted to share it tonight. So we're going to share that. It's about 14 minutes, but a picture is worth 1,000 words, they say. So I could talk all night. But you take one look at this man's film, you know everything. So in a moment, we'll take a look. What you're going to see is something called the World Peace Game. It's a geopolitical simulation. It's about so big by so tall. My 9-year-old students, it's taller than they are. They walk in, they go, wow, Mr. Hunter, this is crazy. But we have 4 levels to the game, 4 sheets of plexiglass, clear glass. The bottom level, this all emulates the Earth, by the way. And the bottom level is undersea, with little toy submarines, undersea mining, and coral reefs, endangered species. Next level is about at their knees. It's the ground and sea level. Big sheet of plexiglass with thousands of pieces, cities and towns and factories and universities and political parties. And we have all sorts of things like that, armies and navies, things we have in the real world. The next level is the aircraft level. It's about at their eye level, I think. You have airplanes and clouds, big puffs of cotton that we move around like weather. So it changes everything. The air forces they have are for the lands down below. Top level above their heads, the outer space level. You have to have outer space if you have elementary students. So we have satellites and asteroids and stars and asteroid mining and space stations. You must have a black hole if you have little children too. They have to, they love the black hole. So my job in inventing it was to have such confidence in my students. They're 9 years old. I give them 50 of the world's most complex problems, crises, interlocked, interwoven, so that if they solve one thing or attempt to solve it, everything else must change. Everything is interdependent, as it is in life, really. But I don't teach that. We try to let them experience that for themselves. And what is so heartwarming is every time they play this game, for the last almost 40 years now, they always discover that the way to solve the problems is by compassion. I don't have to teach it. I don't have to preach it. Maybe that's my view. But the game puts them in the worst situations ever, and it tempts them to be completely human. It tempts them to go to war. It tempts them to be revengeful, impulsive, reactive. It teaches them to do what we do. It allows them, it tempts them to do what we adults do. They say, Mr. Hunter, can we go to war if we want to? I believe instead of pushing that darkness away, I say, in this safe environment, appropriate environment, you may do whatever you wish if you can afford to pay for it and you can deal with the consequences. Whatever you like. So they become completely human in the process. Everything goes wrong. They fail massively. Despair. Mr. Hunter, this is terrible. I thought it was a fun game. We're not saving the earth at all. The confidence of the teacher and support, I say, you can do it. You know how you've had that teacher who says, just as you're about to take the test, you think you're going to fail? Well, I think you can do that. Suddenly you can. It's that little spark of confidence. And they do manage to win this game every time, but they have to go through every kind of emotion and feeling, and they're allowed to. We have our agreement. We don't fist fight, but we all work together, and we come to very emotional experiences together. But we have to go through this despair first. It's part of life. You know, we try to protect them, children, but in a safe, appropriate environment, we can say, here's what life can look like through the entire range in a safe way, so you can learn to handle, to deal with it. We train for success, but do we ever train children for when things don't go well, don't go right? Do they know how to survive, how to handle that? So this game hopefully allows them to train for everything. You have your 4 levels, 50 interlocking crises. There are 4 or 5 country teams, cabinets, prime minister, secretary of state, minister of defense, minister of finance. We have in Austria now the minister of translation, for my sake, I think. So English and German, the children are working at 2 levels, English and German, simultaneously. We've never done that before Immersdorf, before Vienna. So we have even a higher level of the game I invented going on. An amazing thing. Veronica and the team have translated all of my documents, about 60 pages that the students have, a dossier, into German. The students are able to read and understand. We push so much information on them. We don't baby them, little spoonfuls. Come on, children, your brains cannot handle too much. We give you a little bit at a time. No. In this game, we give them everything at once. 50 problems simultaneously dumped on them. It's too much. So they run into despair and frustration, and they sink. But our agreement, our arrangement, our collaboration, our relationship allows them to keep trying. And eventually they discover collaboration. Because nobody can do it alone. But I don't want to teach that. I want them to find it. Because they have to survive. And the collaboration becomes more intense. They become better and better and better at it. They start solving problems. More problems come, but they have some confidence, some skill. They're developing all kinds of problems. We have ethnic and religious and minority, immigration and refugee rights problems. We have nuclear and chemical waste spills, water rights issues. We have breakaway republics, desertification. There's famine, disease, pollution, poverty. Everything we have is in this game. They're 9 and 10 years old. Another teacher said, they can't do that. And I had to say, as teachers know, we say, yes, I believe they can. Let's give them a try. So they tried the game. For 40 years, they have won. They've raised every country's asset value, all problems solved. That's the way the game is won. Everyone has to win. Someone is losing, we have not won. Most games there's a winner and loser. This game, everybody has to win. So we play for 5 days or 8 weeks or however much time we have in our teams. We have a United Nations, a World Bank, we have a legal counsel, we have arms dealers. My little boys want to be the arms dealers. But we put everything in the world there in a safe, appropriate way that's appropriate for their age level. They get to deal with every problem. It's an amazing experience to watch. And then towards the end of the game, there's a moment, and you may see it in the film. There's what we call the click. Suddenly, they all understand, the game is a trick. Mr. Hunter has tricked us. We are not fighting against each other. He set up the game so it looks like that. It's an appearance. We are working with the game itself together. They move into the highest level of collaborations, and then they start solving problems like that. Real world, realistic global problems solved realistically and practically at a 9-year-old level. So much so that this film, Chris Farina's film, has been screened at the United Nations. And the strangest thing, Chris Farina and I were screening this film in California in Silicon Valley. I'm going to finish and we'll show the film in just a moment. We had a woman walk up to us at the end of the film, very well-dressed woman, very lovely shoes, amazing hair, pearls. She handed a card, says, "Mr. Hunter, we'd like to see you." We looked at the card, U.S. Defense Department, Pentagon. What have we done wrong now? Chris, we're in trouble. Excuse me, so we had no idea what this was about. It was about 2 hours from our home in Charlottesville, Virginia. So we got in Chris's old car and we drove a couple of hours to this, not knowing what's going on, but we felt we couldn't turn down the invitation. So we go in through all this security, the machine guns, the scanners and everything. They take our phones, they take our wallets, we have nothing. So what do you want to see us about? Chris, John, there were a room full of about 75 people all total. I think it was diplomatic side and military side. Military side, there were some stars on their shoulders, some generals. We are in really big trouble, Chris. What have we done? They said, Chris and John, we want to tell you here at the Pentagon, the seat of defense in this country, we have shown your film, World Peace and Other Fourth Grade Achievements, 4 times to military and diplomatic side. We want to show it again tonight, today, with you. And we want to talk about peace. One of the most powerful military machines in history, dedicated to warfare, has taken a broke filmmaker and a little small-town school teacher, brought them inside and said, we want to talk to you about peace. They said, we know how to do war. We've got that perfectly down. We can do that so well. We are good at it. But we don't know how not to. They said that to us. Can you imagine? We're in a room listening to some of the most powerful people in military history saying to a filmmaker and a school teacher, help us think about how not to do what we do so well. It gets better. We went back home shocked and stunned, and a couple of weeks later, a phone call. Hello, Mr. Hunter, Pentagon. Yes. Mr. Hunter, would you bring your children who played this game to the Pentagon so we may ask them questions about how they avoid war? My children read Sun Tzu's The Art of War, a little pocket-sized manual. Sun Tzu, the Chinese general who wrote about how to avoid war, how to get out of it quickly, to avoid suffering. They read it during the game. It's a process. So my children got dressed up, got on their suits and ties, their little skirts, and they walked into the Pentagon with their dossiers. They have dossiers, they can say, top secret, walking into the Pentagon. And they were treated as peers, as equals. It was astounding. Ushered into a room of 2, 3, and 4-star generals from every branch of the military service in the U.S. forces. 30-year career Marine Corps general, bending down to talk to my Secretary of State, Riley Elder, said, "Secretary Elder, we handle insurgents in the field like this." And he showed him, "How do you handle them?" And my Secretary of State, Riley Elder, said, "Sir, we handle them like this." Because Riley had lived through the experience himself in the game. They were treated as equals and peers by people who were powerful and understood what suffering is. They said to the children, excuse me, everyone in this room, of all the military people and diplomatic people, has lost friends, colleagues. Some of us even have lost relatives. They're so kind in Austria. They take care of you, everything. So we really want to ask the children how they do it. We know they're children. Their ideas are sometimes simple, but they've come up with innovative solutions not bound by convention. So we were 3 hours with the 2, 3, and 4-star generals asking them questions. Suddenly there is a 5-star general, General Martin Dempsey, who is the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the head of all the generals. He reaches in his pocket, he pulls out a special metal coin, which is a special honor, and we call it coining. He coined the children. He said, "You are warriors for peace." We talked to Defense Secretary Leon Panetta. He said, "I have 10 minutes, boys and girls. I have to go meet President Obama." They were in his office. He took off his coat. He loosened his tie. He spent a half an hour talking strategy, policy, and tactics with my 9-year-old students. He said, "What's your toughest problem?" They said, "Global warming, climate change, of course." He said, "Mine too." Because it affects all the defense decisions in the Northern Hemisphere where the ice cap is melting. So they had a discussion. Surreal. I was a teacher watching. Chris was there. We could not believe what we're seeing. Because the people who do this job know, or at least those people knew, this is endless. And it never solves, it never stops. But the children seem to have a way. So I'll stop this. I can tell stories all night. I'm a school teacher, but I'll stop now. Let us watch this beautiful film by Mario. I've described the game to you, and we'll see it for just a few moments, and then I'll get back and just a couple of more stories. I promise not too many. We can finish up about this kind of learning, this kind of teaching, which is not mine alone. Good teachers, better teachers than I, all over the world we're now seeing, are doing amazing things, but we don't see them because there's no camera in their classroom. So, let us see the film, if we could, by the great filmmaker Mario. Thank you. And on 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. The game begins. In this game, you can do anything you want. Anything politically you want to do, you can do it. If you can afford to pay for it, you have enough euros to pay for it, and you can deal with the consequences. You can stand the consequences. It may appear that there's only one consequence for your action. No. Mr. Hunter designed it so there are many consequences. My name is John Hunter. I'm an elementary school teacher. I have taught middle school and high school, even adults sometimes, but primarily elementary school. I've been doing it for almost 40 years. And I think my approach to teaching. At first I thought I was in charge or responsible for giving content, information. I thought that was the purpose of education. But the students really are the teachers, I've discovered, and they have taught me that the real point of education is to help create a really wonderful human being, because they will leave me 20, 30, 40 years later. I'm hoping that the effect will be that they are a wonderful person. I'm not so concerned that their head is full of facts and knowledge, information. I found facts and knowledge change very quickly in time. They could become obsolete very quickly. So I'm more concerned about who they are, what kind of heart they have, and how well they understand that they are connected with their fellow human beings and can be a good part of that whole human society. So I'm sorry you have to do this. I'm sorry this game is so necessary. But thank you for doing it. Thank you very much for doing it. I hope it helps you to help all of us. Really. Religious law says this is Nin land. I don't care if it belongs to you. It's our land now.
I first met John in the World Peace Game. It was actually 9 years ago in 2005, and it was really just a mutual friend or acquaintance told me about John's work, and so I went into the classroom, and within minutes I was just in love with really the relationship John had as a master teacher with his students. And then as I grew to watch the game more, I realized the important lessons of the World Peace Game, that John is teaching the work of peace, and the emphasis is on the word work, that it's not simply a Pollyannish, oh, let's all make peace, but instead it's how do we get to try to create a more peaceful world. And through it, you really learn a sense of collaboration and compromise, and John gives the students a real sense of both love but also security, so that they are willing to take risk, they are willing to stand up for themselves and be comfortable as they both work with and at times against others when they disagree.
I've learned not to go in with a preconceived idea. And there may be a certain subject matter I have to convey or share or excite their interest in. But what I've learned to do first, before I even enter the classroom, is to begin a process of self-introspection, looking into my own mirror to see who is there, what prejudices, biases, inhibitions, what limited perspectives I have, and to try and weed them out over time, to make them less and less so I can become less of a barrier, less of an inhibition to my students' learning. My prejudices won't get in the way of their learning.
To put more troops on this island to fight against these unknown people.
So what are we going to do?
At the end of the day, we all win.
Okay. All right.
As a teacher, I think this is the best way to learn, to see the children play, to see Mr. Hunter facilitate the game, because actually he is just a facilitator, because they run the show. So, and because they run the show, you never know what's going to happen.
Es gibt einfach da so viel Austausch, wie es eigentlich sonst in der Schule nie sehe. Und das ist was ganz wertvoll ist. Und dass man auch andere Standpunkte kennenlernt, wie sieht es der andere, ja, und dass man auch lernt zu verhandeln, einmal einen Kompromiss einzugehen und vor allem immer, dass man sich überlegt, welche Konsequenzen das hat. Dass man einfach Ideen zulässt, ja, und alle wilden Ideen sind okay, ja, und dass man aber nicht bewertet.
We broke the treaty and so next round we will...
Ja, wir wissen, sie haben sehr viele nukleare Waffen, das heißt, sie sind sehr gefährlich. Und wir wollen es immer so machen, dass wir keinen Krieg haben, wir wollen vorher mal reden.
dann kostet das alles voll viel Geld. Ja. Und darum haben wir jetzt alle Kriege beendet. Wir haben einfach unsere Waffen stillgelegt und zurückgezogen.
Wir haben schon mit fast allen Ländern Frieden geschlossen.
Krieg war jetzt zuerst mal nur die Drohung, dass wir auch sagen können, hey, ihr könnt nicht machen, was ihr wollt. Und dass man direkt Krieg anfängt, ist, glaube ich, übertrieben, weil man muss zuerst mal auch die Meinung von den anderen hören.
Find out what they love. Find out who they are and what they love. And then you take curriculum and you build it around and connect it to what they love and who they are. Find out what their passion is. If you can connect their passion to the subject you have to teach, their passion will drive the lesson.
2 years ago, I saw a wonderful TED, which was held by Mr. John Hunter. And this TED was talking about the World Peace Game. And I've always wondered, how can I teach children empathy? How can I teach them peace? How can I show them that compassion and empathy is actually something good for them?
Ich bin letztes Jahr über die Globart Academy eigentlich jetzt auf diese Veranstaltung aufmerksam geworden, weil ich einen Newsletter bekomme und da habe ich dann gelesen, es gibt so ein World Peace Game mit John Hunter. Das war echt sehr, sehr spannend, dass das alles interaktiv ist, ja, dass jeder mit jedem verknüpft ist und so ist es im wahren Leben auch.
Bei dem World Peace Game war ich der Finanzminister von einem Staat. Ich meine, es wird durchs Zusammenhelfen hat man kaum noch Feinde. Also das ist sehr wichtig, dass man eben ohne Teamwork, also wenn ich jetzt zum Beispiel alleine als Finanzminister da irgendwas gesagt hätte, das hätte gar nichts gebracht. Und dann haben wir ja auch mit den Politikern im Parlament darüber reden können. Und wir sind dann eben auch auf Probleme in der realen Welt auch wirklich zu sprechen gekommen. Kann man sowas verantworten, dass man...
Einen Nachmittag ging es dann weg vom Spiel an einen realen Ort der Entscheidungen, in das österreichische Parlament. Die Schüler hatten die Möglichkeit, in einem Clubraum mit Parlamentariern wie Matthias Strolz und Astin El-Habassi auf Augenhöhe über politische Themen zu diskutieren, Fragen zu stellen und ihre gewonnenen Lösungsansätze aus dem Spiel den Politikern zu präsentieren. Danach ging es mit dem Zug wieder in die neue Mittelschule nach Emmersdorf zurück.
Sich weniger egoistisch denken, sondern sich die anderen.
Also um den Leuten ganz oben mal zu sagen, dass sie mal aufwachen sollen und endlich was unternehmen.
Jetzt verstehe ich ein bisschen die Politiker. Früher habe ich immer gedacht, warum machen die das und so. Aber jetzt verstehe ich es auch langsam schon, warum die das so machen.
We underestimate children's ability, that we don't give them that sense that they can solve adult problems. And I think that's a very important lesson that we need to impart, because in many ways, they're more capable than we are because they have less baggage. And they have a freshness that is something that we could really use in this world, is to be bringing, kind of thinking outside the box.
Wir haben ja auch einen Saboteur drinnen, ganz bewusst, der ihnen wieder neue Herausforderungen gibt. Und ich glaube, je länger das Spiel dauert, man merkt es auch, die lernen damit umzugehen. Die lernen das sogar so weit, dass sie sagen, wir wollen neue Probleme und Herausforderungen und die meistern wir dann auch.
How many people believe Mr. Haida is the saboteur? Raise your hand. Take a count. Take a count. Please count.
Okay, wer ist alles hier?
Hands up high. If you believe, count. Please count. How many? Now, in the World Peace Game, we now ask Mr. Haida, can I lie? Mr. Haida.
I was so happy to receive a newsletter from the World Peace Foundation saying that Mr. Hunter is coming to Austria. So, and then I just get in touch with Globart, and here I am at the end of this beautiful adventure.
So I do believe that there is a way of of dealing with it in a childlike way, but with the idea that these are our future leaders, that we're giving the world to them to run one day. So we need to prepare them now.
Okay, the United Nations, the Weather Gods have to say something. We won the game, so all badges higher and all crises are solved.
Diese Gemeinschaft, die das Ganze geworden ist, also die verschiedenen Kinder, selbst von den verschiedenen Klassen jetzt unserer Schule, es waren ja da 26 aus unserer Schule dabei, es ist wirklich eine Gemeinschaft geworden und es war dann viel mehr als das Spiel zu gewinnen. Es hat sich jeder gefreut natürlich, dass das Spiel gewonnen ist und dass eigentlich die Ziele erreicht worden sind, aber was da sonst noch alles passiert ist, das ist gewaltig.
Therefore, a victorious army first wins and then seeks a battle. A defeated army first battles and then seeks victory. We wish to thank Mario and Chris. Would you please stand up and be recognized too? Chris Farina, the originator of the film, The Tattoo. I won't talk too much longer, maybe 2 or 3 short stories. But did you see the love and warmth and support that the Globe Art organization extended to me, a stranger from America, a small town school teacher? They made it possible that this could be international in 1 year. You've done that in 1 year. The board, Heidi, Veronica, it's astounding. And did you see also Matthias in the Parliament building, one-on-one, peer-to-peer, just like at the Pentagon, listening to the children, discussing with them in depth what is real, what is important, what do they want for the future. Their future. When you have that kind of open-mindedness, that kind of reach, that kind of personal security and confidence to be able to allow children to discuss with you as equals because they have good ideas. They happen to be this tall, but they have ideas. So I appreciate what you have done in this country to allow your children to be heard. This is an outstanding example as well. So I want to talk all night. I promise not to. But in teaching, I share stories to really give sort of a seed of an idea rather than just talking. In 10 years from now, you won't remember you ever met me. I'll be gone, You're onto something else. So I found if I tell a story, you might remember the story. A story is like an onion. You peel off layers and you can see different things every time you reveal a new layer. So I leave the story with you. You can forget me. No problem. The first story I'd like to share is something, and it's very typical and very universal, something that happened in the game. One year, a very poor country. In the game, we have countries with different asset values. Some are poor, some are wealthy, just like the world. A team of mostly girls, Prime Minister, Secretary of State, and the Minister of Defense was a very timid, shy little girl. She had pigtails that stuck out, big glasses, and just shy. I think her name was Amy. And Amy was a minister of defense. You do not want to cross a 9-year-old girl who owns tanks. But Amy was in charge of protecting her country. They were so poor, her few tanks couldn't do anything. Her prime minister said, Amy, don't do anything, be still. We don't have much money. Amy kept saying, but that rich, oil-rich country next door to us, I have a feeling they're going to attack. They're going to try and destroy everything. I know it. The prime minister said, Amy, sit down. We don't have any money. We're too small and poor. They could really get upset and hurt us. Suddenly, without warning, and it broke my heart because this is the World Peace Game, Amy took her armored tank column into the other country, surrounded the oil field of the rich neighbor to the south of her, and locked down their oil supplies so they had no gasoline and fuel to move their army. Brilliant maneuver, brilliant. Everybody was mad. Amy, what are you doing? It's a peace game. Why are you doing this? And she would say, I know what I'm doing. That's all she would say. As a teacher, with an ideal of peace, she was breaking my heart. I thought, Amy, I trained you better than this. I give you a chance to explore, but I expect you to do peaceful things. Why are you doing this? Well, come to find out a little while later, it was revealed, it came out that the prime minister of the wealthy country was actually planning a huge military attack on all the countries. Amy somehow intuited it, she saw it, she knew it was coming. She was ordered not to do anything. She took it upon herself. She made a philosophical decision to start a small war to avert a larger war. Was Amy right or was she wrong? When you provide an opportunity for children to wrestle with deep, huge issues on a philosophical level and make decisions in an appropriate, safe way, you can see their thinking just grow leaps and bounds. And how do you grade such a thing? You know, we have our standards and our tests and our quantification and our data. Amy maybe gets some B+, maybe C, I don't know, C+. You can't grade such a thing with conventional data and methods. But the obvious result, it's self-evident that she's on a high critical thinking level. So I share another short story. This one, some years earlier, Chris and I were at the university where I graduated in Virginia, giving a talk. And at the end of the talk, we're talking about the World Peace Game. Old man got up in the back, raised his hand and said, Mr. Hunter, do you remember me? I looked out and said, no, sir, I don't think I do. Mr. Hunter, my name is Terry. I played in the first World Peace Game. He's gray-haired, his temples, he's kind of stooped. He played as my student at the first World Peace Game in 1978. And I thought, if he looks like an old man, what does that make me? Oh my God. Terry got up and he spoke very eloquently and beautifully about his experience in the game, the first game in 1978, what he learned from it, how it led him to work in educational policy reform in Washington, D.C. He was so excited to tell me how the game had affected his thinking. This is what all teachers do. We just make the effort. We hope it helps. We don't know until they tell us, maybe later. So a couple of weeks later, I had a Skype call with Terry. Terry said, Mr. Hunter, I wanted you to Skype call me because I want to show you something. Into the room walks a beautiful young woman. So, Mr. Hunter, this is my daughter. She's about 22. I think her name is Brianna. And Brianna just applied for a job at the World Bank a couple of days ago. Mr. Hunter, in the World Peace Game, you did this gesture, sort of a funny gesture with your hand. You made a joke. It was actually kind of a lame joke, Mr. Hunter. But it was a very funny joke, I thought, at the time. And this gesture about looking at things from different perspectives, I remembered. It struck me for some reason. To me, it was just an offhand gesture. I was joking around. But he remembered it for 30 years. He said, Mr. Hunter, that gesture I used in my thinking, in my work in education reform. I taught that gesture to my daughter. She told me she used that gesture in her job interview to talk about different perspectives. I think she got the job. I don't know. Then he said, Mr. Hunter, I want to show you something else. Into the room walks a little boy. Mr. Hunter, this is my grandson, Terry says. This is her son. He's maybe 2. Mr. Hunter, I'm teaching him that gesture. I thought, how sweet, but then all of a sudden it hit me, just like a thunderbolt. An offhand gesture I made 30-some years ago affected this child so much that the gesture went through 3 generations. As a teacher, you feel like you're reaching through time. What you're doing today, you're not just teaching the child in front of you. You may be teaching that child's grandchildren. So everything you do as a teacher is important, every gesture you make. And I wasn't even being intentional. I wish I had been always intentional. I'm human. But think, if you put intentionality behind it and you really do your best, what effect you might have. Who can say how far it goes, reaching through time? And finally, my last story, and we'll have, I think, question and answer after, yeah. And the last story I want to share is just at my school, I had this famous TED Talk. I went to the Pentagon. I was at the UN. Very important. I go back to my school. My principal says, John, welcome back from all your travels. Please go do bus duty. You know, that's the lowest job. So I go out to the bus circle and I simply open the car doors for the children who come in. I thought I was kind of famous. No, bus duty. So I opened the car doors. Very humbling experience. But I started to think about what I was doing, opening the doors every morning. Students jump out. They're so bright and happy and full of life and possibilities. I opened the door and I said, "You are one chance for greatness, aren't you?" And they smile. Yeah. And they go in the building and go to school. And I kept doing it. The next car, you're 6 chances for greatness. Come on, 1, 2, 3, 4. A lot of chances for greatness in that car. And I was joking. But then again, it hit me. Each one of these children is a huge, immense potential. I don't know which one might develop a cure for cancers. I don't know which one might find a way to solve the crises of Alzheimer's disease. I don't know which one might be the one to save the world from starvation or change and solve the problem of global warming. Any one of them could be. But we have an idea, this child is failing, a loser. We have a fixed view at that time and we stamp that fixed view on them and we think they'll never change. But I've lived long enough and taught long enough to see Terry, who is a mischief maker, I'll admit, come back doing great work for the world, passing on things he learned to his grandchildren. The children are never fixed. It is only the appearance at the moment, is what I've found. And so I opened the door and said, one chance for greatness, another chance for greatness. I don't know which one might be the one. Any of them could be. So we cannot afford to lose even one. I say this sincerely to you as a teacher. We cannot afford to lose even one. So I will just end by again saying I stand on the shoulders of great teachers, great visionaries like Heidi Dobner and the Board of Glovart. Truly, I could not be here were it not for them. This little work of one little small mountain town school teacher could not be spread all over the world except by a visionary and supporters like Maria, friends of ours, who make it possible for us to be and share what all teachers do, not just me, not just this game, but the kind of thinking that prepares them for the unknown, which we will not live to see. So thank you all so much. Thank you really, sincerely, so much.
John, you want to have a seat? May I ask also Veronika Leutzendorf of Globart to the stage? Very warm welcome to you as well. Thank you very much. Here's one for you.
Please, yeah.
So Veronika, I suppose you have had the pleasure of observing, being part of the World Peace Game more than once. So perhaps what touches you personally if you listen to John, if you see the movie?
Well, I've not only listened to John and saw the movie, but I experienced really the World Peace Game in Emmersdorf. It's now the second time. And what touches me the most is how the kids change. They really come in as shy pupils, and then they go out and they discovered something about themselves. They discovered a strength, a talent, something they didn't know they even have. And that touches me the most. And you can see it even if you don't know the kids.
John, you said, well, there was actually a sentence that stuck with me in the movie, which was relating to this, that basically the kids run the show. The teachers are the facilitators now, coming back to the title of this evening's event. Is that how you see a possible future for teaching, that the teacher becomes more of a facilitator, more of a coach, however you would like to call it, and actually the kids, the students, they run the show?
It's a beautiful thought, really. My experience shows when I go into a classroom the first day, 25, 35 students, there are 35 minds in the room. They happen to be younger than mine, but they all have ideas, they all have insights and experiences I don't have. I cannot discount that. So, I automatically know that I have a room of 25, 35 co-teachers. I ask them, the first thing I say is, so, we have to teach this. The school district, the head says we have to teach this. How do you think we should do it? They look at me like, what? You're the teacher. You tell us how to do it. They've been trained very well. And I said, no. It's your destiny, your life. How do you think we should do it? And again, we talk about marrying their passion with what is required, what we have to do. And they become so engaged because their passion is connected. Their learning and their love of something is connected to what they love specifically. You know, if I want to teach geometry, I don't just start with geometry. I talk to my 16-year-old punk goth skateboarder. And I said, so you like skateboarding? Yeah, I might drop out of school to do it. What about if we build a skateboard park? What? Really? You interested? Yeah, this is your passion, right? Yes. Well, how about if we figure out how to make that half pipe you like? I don't know how to do that. Well, look, here's a geometric formula that shows you how to make your half pipe. Wow. And suddenly, the passion is driving the learning. So, yes, they become empowered to take over the classroom, and I become more of a facilitator. I don't know if I can say that's the only way, but I've seen it to be a very powerful way where students feel like they are respected and honored for their wisdom, their collective wisdom, their ideas, and their ability to create something that I, a singular person, cannot do. So we have a classroom of co-teachers, I think.
So I know that there are quite a lot of teachers in the room tonight. Raise your hands if you are a teacher.
teachers to be as well.
So you already mentioned it, but how do you teach the teachers? How do you show them the way? How do you do it?
Well, I'm hoping somebody will show me the way first. But I would say that rather than me telling you what I think you should do, because there are plenty of people who will do that for you. Everybody has an idea. Everybody has an answer. Our youth today have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, streaming information of people telling them what to do, what to think, what to buy, what to believe, what to wear. They have hardly any time to digest even a portion of it. It's simply reacting, reacting, reacting. So rather than me adding to it by telling you what I think you should do from my limited perspective, I can share with you what has worked for me. And it starts before I get to the classroom. We mentioned in the film, self-introspection. I have to see who this is first. Find out what my very subtle prejudice is. I have them. I'm prejudiced in different ways. My biases, my sudden and immediate reactions to situations that are incorrect because of my belief system, my perspectives. I examine those every day relentlessly. I have to. Because if I want my students to be clear and have a real chance in learning, I've got to remove something that is like this in the film where a student will say, Mr. Hunter, I have an idea. And I think, oh, it's a terrible idea. And I make this gesture. Immediately the student shuts down. Just because my prejudice, my habit is popping out. But if I can clear that daily, little bit, self-reflection, self-introspection, perhaps I can be clear and the student can say, Mr. Hunter, I have an idea. And I can say, what is it? With some interest and excitement, without a particular bias, and allow it to come out. That's really just a self-reflection. I have to start with me first to work on fixing that before I try to fix anything else. My experience, yeah.
Following up to how do you do it? How do you get someone like John Hunter to Emmersdorf, Austria? I mean, you saw him on TED, but I think that's also an inspirational example, right? I mean, you see someone on TED, 1 million views. It's a great video, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet. And then suddenly, you get him over here. So how did you do it?
Well, we invited him, and we awarded it with the Global Award. And then he did a workshop for a small group of teachers, which then said about how to teach, but not exactly about the game. And those teachers said, we want to play this game. And then we said, okay, let's try to bring Mr. John Hunter again. And then last year we managed to have the first masterclass here in Austria, in Emmersdorf. We played the game, had a masterclass. And it was such a huge success that we said, let's do it again. And we have 30 teachers from 8 different countries participating in the masterclass. And we have 35 very motivated students. And we could have much more students who would like to participate. So, yeah, I think Mr. Hunter inspires us all. And we really want to have him back next year. So if anyone is interested, I would also like to add, if we're playing until Saturday, we are playing every morning from 8 to 12. If anyone is interested to come to Emmersdorf, to the Neue Mittelschule Emmersdorf, you're very welcome to come to see, to talk to the teachers who are there. Yeah, it's an invitation.
But could I just add, the reason that I came was because I felt the relationship heartfulness. Heidi,
thank you.
Talk with us. You contacted me, and I felt something that spoke volumes to me, more than the funding and the structure and the trip to Austria, a beautiful country, the warmth of the people. Truly and sincerely, the warmth of the people made you feel that you are more than welcome, that you are like a family member, That's what made me want to come, honestly. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'm sure there are questions in the audience. So not only in here, we also have people watching on the internet. We are being live streamed tonight. So
now he tells me.
if you have questions, now is the chance. Oh, there's a roving microphone. So please raise your hand if you have a question or a comment. There's one. If you perhaps could say your name and...
My name is Beatrice. John, I'm one of the teachers in his class. And I'm really, since yesterday, I'm a little ashamed of how polite Mr. John Hunter talks with our children in school, which we do not manage to do as you did. You told them from the right beginning on, to every child you said, "Sir, madam, please identify yourself, you're a prime minister." And it almost broke my heart. I hope I can talk to the children and in that way from now on. And I just wanted to ask, did you never failed keeping their integrity in school? Because I often fail. Sometimes I'm impolite. My emotions, they come, and I did not meditate. So, when did you succeed over this failing to keep their integrity every day?
Have you ever lost your temper?
Well, you and I are exactly the same. There's no difference. I simply struggle every day to try and tame that, to change that. That's all. It's the very same. We're all human. You know, this is just the effort we make. And I'm sure at different points in my career, I felt upset, difficult, ashamed, angry. All the human emotions run through. But we have a choice. We understand the emotions are like weather. The weather changes all the time. We like to fixate on an emotion. It's real. It's permanent, it's lasting, it's important, but it's just weather. My students taught me this because they, in a fight with another student, 2 minutes later they're hugging, kissing, hanging out. Emotions are like weather. So they taught me, don't be attached to the moment or the appearance of anything. And the self-introspection, every day I try and weed it out, every day I fail. The World Peace Game. Every time I go in, I'm afraid I'm going to fail. I have a little fear. Honestly, we're human. But then we have a great compassion and hope for the students. The last part of the answer is, my great principal, Ron Broadbent in Virginia, said to me one time, when I presented a long list of grievances and problems and complaints against one student, I went in, "Mr. Broadbent, I have to tell you, this student is driving me crazy. This is the problem, that's the problem, the family is this, the dog is that, everything is terrible." He said, "John Hunter, I have one answer for you." How could you have one answer? I gave you a problem this long. One answer. He said, "I always have the same one answer." How is it possible? The same one answer is, do what's best for that student. I'm not in this business for myself to make money, to make a name, to have a great vacation and buy a nice car. I'm in this business to serve others. So each student individually must be served individually and uniquely. No one test, no one curriculum fits all. So that helped me. The students helped me. He helped me to understand each one of you is unique. Each one of you must uniquely be addressed. So yeah, I fail just like you, and we keep trying, don't we? Yeah.
Is there another question? 2 hands raised. Perhaps let's take them together.
Hello, my name's Thomas. You just mentioned that you think that every child should be taught individually, that you should think about the individual child and you need to focus on it personally. In Austria, we experience a lot of standardization Austrian school politics as well as industry, economy is urging school to have test formats like PISA test or BIST standard tests. Is there anything, how does your program fit into this? How can you react to that?
It's a very important question.
Thank you. Perhaps let's take the second as well, behind you.
Okay, I wanted to ask you, my name is Sibylle. I wanted to ask you whether you have got any experience with involving elders into, I don't like the word teaching so much, because you find out what they love and don't teach them what to do or how to do it. Have you got any experience by involving different generations?
Wonderful. Yes, great question. We take this one first. We have the same problem in America. It's very troubling. Standardized curriculum, it's simple to say, but standardized teaching leads to standardized individuals coming out. If you want one size fitting all to be the same, it may be successful to some degree, but the heart may be left out. So I will tell you a secret, I will admit. I sometimes worked against it, and my administration was not happy. I've resigned in my job 5 times. When I thought this is wrong for children, maybe I was wrong, but I thought this is wrong for children, I resigned and left. I looked for another job. But fortunately, I found another position. 5 times I left. I could not bear to do what I thought was wrong for children. Some teachers, they can't afford to leave. They have to stay and they have to fight some kind of way. The real answer is one teacher, young teacher I met in Virginia in a very poor mountain community. She was young, full of energy, life, ideas. She wanted to change education and really help the children. Her colleagues, mostly older teachers, experienced teachers, her administration, set in their ways. They said, stop trying to rock the boat. She was so frustrated. She came to me and we were talking. John, it drives me crazy. They won't do anything different. No changes. The children are suffering. What can I do? And of course, I didn't know what to tell her. So we sat there for a minute. Finally, she looked up and she said, how long have you been teaching? At that point, about 30 years. 30 years, huh? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm so strong, I'm so fiery, I'm so mad about it. I'm going to wait until they die off, retire, get pregnant, and move away. And I'm going to stay. And that's not the easiest solution, but she had the determination to wait them out, and fight for those children. Sometimes you have to move on. Me, I moved 5 times. She decided to stay. And the second question about the elders. We have had students who insist upon, we haven't been able to arrange it yet, they want their grandparents to play with them in the World Peace Game. They want the game to never end, that new generations keep playing the same game through. So we're trying to set this up. We always get grandparents coming, particularly grandparents who remember events from the past that were more realistic to some of the situations in the game than most people, modern people do, younger people do. So it's a very moving thing to see an elderly person come in and say, yes, I lived through that. It's so great that you're showing them how to deal with it now, and nobody taught me anything. Yeah.
There's a hand raised. Is there perhaps a question from the internet? Is there? Perhaps let's take that one first and then the one in the middle.
All right, Mr. Hunter, this question is from Sonia Latsinski, and she has daughters, and she's interested in showing this video to her daughter's teachers. And what if they showed interest? Would you be willing to participate in this project, or was that project just once for once? Here in Austria.
Oh, it never ends.
It never ends.
It never ends.
Perfect.
We've been going 40 years with it. I tell you, at this stage, because of the great support of organizations like Globe Arts and Maria, we feel like we can go forever. The point is, we will do anything it takes to serve. We are here for the purpose of helping each other and serving. So we'll do whatever we can, go anywhere we can, if it is possible, to offer whatever we have, if they can use it. That is an offer I make to you because it's very sincere, and this is what we do now. We live for this, to help other people. I don't know of any better reason to live my life than to help and serve others. This is what my teachers trained me to do. So I can have nice things and enjoy life, wonderful, but when I'm gone, what was the point? But if I can serve others and 3 generations later they're still doing the gesture and it's useful, maybe so. So yeah, if we can, we will find a way to work together. We offer that.
We will have a masterclass again next year, probably again in April, so that might be an option to come here to Austria. I don't know where the lady lives.
Thank you.
So there was one hand raised in the middle, and then one in...
Maybe just the first one and the second one.
Yes, and let's take those two together again, and then let's wrap it up.
Ja, ich stelle meine Frage auf Deutsch. Das beherrsche ich besser. Sie haben eine sehr positive Sicht auf das Leben. Ich würde gern wissen, welches Rezept Sie haben für schwierige Lebenssituationen.
Essentially, if I'm understanding, what kind of recipe do I have for difficult situations in life? Well, you know, I could only present my view, my limited perspective, and it may not suit or serve your condition at all. So I would be hesitant to prescribe any recipe, but I will say what has helped me in all situations in my life. Number one has been, of course, taking a moment for self-reflection. It seems like it's empty space, which is a lot like the World Peace Game. There's nothing really there. But in that depth and quiet, so much wealth, so many resources are available if we take the time to allow them to emerge. We don't have to dig them out or force them out. They will arise if we are in a quiet place long enough just to see what might emerge. So I can't prescribe your situation, I don't know. But for me, that has always helped to take a moment of reflection. And of course, when I come out of reflection, look to see what I can do to help others. Who can we help? How can we work together?
And there's one more question in the back.
I'm Liz. When did you start to play this game? About 40 years ago? Is that right? Mm-hmm. So the world has seen quite some wars in those 40 years, and maybe even more peace treaties broken. How does that influence the perception of your game? Is the real world development and evolution of war and peace a part which is influencing your game?
That's a very good question, very serious question. We make all these great efforts, but then treaties can be broken, things can be undone. Then what's to do? In the World Peace Game, the students, they make treaties, agreements. Sometimes they change and they have to undo or back away from their first thought. So we have to negotiate and negotiate and renegotiate tirelessly. And they learn to have the stamina of negotiation. I'm sure you understand what that takes, the stamina, Matthias, what it takes to negotiate and renegotiate hours into the early morning sometimes, because your compassion is so bulletproof, your compassion is so strong, undeterred, you simply refuse to surrender your compassion. One of my teachers said, John, the most difficult child, the most annoying person, the most uncomfortable situation is the best thing that could happen to you. What? He said those situations, those people are treasures because they teach you compassion, patience, tolerance, forbearance. You don't have to agree with them. You certainly protect yourself. But they are showing you how to be a more deeply better person because you're undergoing the training with them of not losing your compassion, not giving up. There's no answer for broken treaties, but I know in the World Peace Game, they refuse to give up. They keep coming back to the table. They keep coming back to the table. I don't know any other magical answers I wish I had, but they refuse to surrender to despair. That's what I have seen.
Thank you very much. So if you want to learn more about some of these concepts like the empty space or why there's actually a saboteur in the game, it was touched upon, but it wasn't really elaborated. You didn't ask me to do this, neither did your team, but I really recommend your book. It's World Peace and Other Fourth Grade Achievements. It's a great read, and it gives you some more ideas which we cannot elaborate on tonight.
Should I very quickly just mention the saboteur, very quickly?
Yes, please.
You know, I'm a teacher. I'll take any opportunity. Very briefly, the saboteur is a character in the game. Some child I secretly asked to play their public role in the game, Prime Minister, Secretary of State, whatever, to help win the game, but secretly through secret negotiations, innuendo, irrelevancies, they're spreading rumors, they're trying to destroy the game. That's their job. At the end of the game, everybody applauds and celebrates this person when they're revealed. The idea is that this person shows us the other side of us, the dark side. It's there, but the saboteur actually makes the game better. We talked about how that treasure of a person who causes trouble forces us into deeper compassion and critical thinking. So we built that into the game, both and all sides of human nature that we can. Thank you for that opportunity, Joseph.
You just destroyed my cliffhanger, so I'll give you another one. If you want to, if you want to understand why John reads Sun Tzu and The Art of War with his students, and I won't let you elaborate on that one. Read the book, and if you want to, perhaps see for yourself, as Veronica said, until Saturday there will be the masterclass, and if you want to register for next year, I think there's no date set yet, but if you want to just pre-register, you can do it via email with Globot, of course, on the website. So thank you very much for an very inspirational evening. Thank you, John, for being here. Thank you, Globot. Thank you all for discussing with us. John will be available for a little bit longer, perhaps, for some questions.
I'm not going anywhere.
So there's some drinks outside. Thank you very much. Have a very good evening.
Thank you.